I'm using this word memory like it's a thing, but actually it is composed of a number of different processes and a bit of stages, right?
Memory we can think of as having three sort of separate elements to it. And if we remember something, all three things have happened. And if we forget something, there's been a failure at least one of these three steps. So the first step is what we would call encoding. So encoding is getting information about the outside world into our brains, and then getting that information into a molecular format that the brain can access, that it can store, that it can manipulate. For instance, if you've ever digitized your photos, let's say you have an old family photo album, right? That information exists, but you don't have it in a format that like your phone can read. You can't, show it in your iPhone if it exists on a piece of paper. It has to be transformed in some way. It has to be encoded in some way so that the machine, in this case, in this metaphor, your phone, can make sense of it. And that's the same thing with memory. It needs to be turned into a molecule, into a molecular format that can be manipulated and stored in the brain. The second thing needs to happen is that it needs to go somewhere. It needs to live somewhere. That molecule, that memory trace that you've made. The hippocampus, as we learned in our previous lecture on the brain, is a really important area of the brain for this. So you might remember Clive Wearing, who had damage to his hippocampus, and then he couldn't form any new long-term memories. But we have molecular memory traces all throughout the brain, especially with our really kind of core or long-term memories. So even though Clive had damage to his hippocampus, he could still recognize his wife because that was a memory that was stored somewhere else, or maybe actually in multiple places in his brain that was really resistant to damage. If you've ever seen the movie Inside Out, you have this this kind of beautiful cartoon visualization of memory where memories are marbles. And the long-term memory is this maze of marbles, right? And some are blue because they're sad memories, or yellow. That necessary step of retrieval is what gives rise to this tip of the tongue phenomenon, or that I know it, right? So we know that information has been encoded, you practice it. We know that information has been stored. It's like you can feel it in your brain somewhere. But for some reason, you can't pull that marble out of long-term storage, like send it to headquarters, right? Like bring it back into conscious awareness. That's because often we need what are called retrieval cues. We need mechanisms to say, okay, I know where that memory is. I know where to find it. I know how to go get it, right? And if we're missing those retrieval cues, we can't access it and we can't pull it. So that's why if you're forgetting something, like let's say you're having a conversation with your roommate and you're like, what was their name again? Oh, she's got blonde hair. We were talking to her in the cafe. She wears those like purple headphones, right? Like you're trying to think of all the other details as a way of jogging your own memory and getting that information back.
So finding a way back into that,
yes.
Because that memory will be associated with many other different elements of the time or the place.
Yeah, you're like, okay, if you think about your long-term memory as like, again, this vast storage area, you're like, okay, well, it's like, I know it's in this room. Like, what are some things that will, like, once I'm in that room, do it? So those are all verbal cues, but we can also think of other senses as being really powerful retrieval cues. One of the most powerful retrieval cues for memory is smell, right? So if you've ever walked into a place and you're like, oh my gosh, this smells like my grandmother's house, right? Like that can access memories that you didn't have. I was joking with Sam earlier that I walked by a student on campus last week and I was like, this boy smells like 2002 to me. He was wearing like an Axe body spray. And I was like, I have not smelled that smell since college. Like this boy smells like college to me. Like I looked it up on my phone. I was like, do they still sell this? Like this was amazing to me. And I was like, there's a whole set of experiences that I have not thought about in 20 years that were activated by just like this really, really potent smell. Music, you cannot have thought about a song. I'm also this way about like 90s country. Like I feel like I have like every Kenny Chesney song from like 1999 like permanently filed in my head, and they just live there. And then like I hear 3 bars of music and I'm like, those marbles just come like wearing back into consciousness. So we can have really powerful retrieval cues that unlock memories that we might have thought were gone.